The dashboard everyone trusted. Welcome back. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we are embarking on a deep dive into a case study that is honestly going to completely change how you look at the software you use at work every single day. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating explainer on the concept of false corporate compliance and the hidden, deeply ingrained dangers of automated comfort. We're drawing from the incredible Office Drama Stories universe, specifically a scenario that tests a company's so-called fresh start against its old, toxic habits. It's pretty much a masterclass in how institutional memory fights back against executive erasure. Let's get right into it.
So I want you to really think about this for a second. What actually happens when your compliance dashboard shows everything as perfectly, brightly green, but the underlying, messy reality is just flashing red? We've all seen these dashboards, right? They are the ultimate administrative object. They look so polished, so final, and frankly, so boring that everyone just wants to glance at them, feel a sense of relief, and totally ignore the details. In our case study today, the company has just gone through this major reform. They've instituted a memory charter to protect the truth, and everyone desperately wants to believe the culture is fixed. But true reform isn't tested by some flashy signing ceremony or a fancy corporate retreat. No, it's tested the very next morning by the first, quiet, seemingly administrative object that nobody wants to explain. In this specific case, it was a dashboard showing perfect compliance, despite open, glaring exceptions hiding literally just beneath the surface.
Strategy lead Maya Carter captures the psychology of an office cover-up perfectly here. And this quote, this is the anchor for our entire explainer today. The dangerous documents never look dangerous first. Really think about that. True office danger doesn't burst into a room yelling. It arrives quietly. It hides in plain sight behind polished corporate language, delayed eye contact, and standard operating procedures. When a company's trying to hide something, they don't lock it in a secret vault. They just disguise it as routine paperwork. They make it look like a standard system error or a completely harmless data visualization. Maya recognizes this exact pattern immediately. While everyone else in the room is just sighing with relief at this beautifully green dashboard, Maya is studying the people who are trying a little too hard not to look worried.
Now, of course, an anomaly like this always comes with a perfectly manicured explanation. Enter Adrian Vall, the company's transformation officer, with his official excuse: the dashboard only reflects completed controls, not live investigation notes. I mean, it sounds so reasonable, doesn't it? It sounds efficient. But this is exactly where we have to read between the lines. Executives in these situations absolutely love to use soft, reassuring words. They'll talk about alignment, healing, business continuity, or a culture reset. But as Maya has learned, and as we should all definitely remember, soft words often arrive exactly when the factual record is about to be softened too. Adrian's explanation is meticulously designed to blur the actual truth, to make a glaring omission look like a simple, everyday matter of system filtering. But Adrian's super smooth explanation hits an absolute brick wall when it meets Sophia Lane. Sophia is the new operations coordinator, and her superpower? She is new enough that she just hasn't yet learned to skip the fine print that all the seasoned veterans call standard. She totally ignores the unwritten rule that says you shouldn't ask inconvenient questions. Instead, she looks right at the metadata and asks the exact questions no one wants to hear. Who changed it? When did it change? And who approved the change? It is brilliant. The room completely freezes because they genuinely don't know what to do with a new employee who actually believes the company's new transparency rules apply to her too. She hones in on the exact details that people typically avoid when the answer is going to point to a specific person's name.
So Maya takes Sophia's questions and she literally operationalizes them into what she calls a proof map. And the logic here is completely airtight. Map the object, find the owner, check the timestamp, and note the missing approval. Maya doesn't chase people down the hallway. She doesn't yell. She just follows the systems. Why? Because people will deny things right to your face. But systems? Systems will always hesitate. Systems leave a trail. By organizing the raw data this way, Maya creates a clean, undeniable path from an action directly back to the owner. She structures the evidence so logically that the chronological sequence starts speaking the truth long before anyone is even forced to confess. It takes all the emotion out of the conflict and replaces it with cold, hard geometry.
And man, does this spark a massive perspective clash. Adrian actually pulls Sophia aside, representing that old, toxic culture, offering what sounds like friendly advice but is really a subtle warning. He claims, don't turn inconsistency into a crisis, and that logs need interpretation. This is classic, textbook toxic pressure disguised as career mentorship. But the new culture, championed by IT auditor Jordan and Sophia, fires right back. Their response? This is sequence, not suspicion. And then Maya delivers this phenomenal counter.
Truth is not damage, hiding it was. They absolutely refused to let raw, factual records be gaslit into mere inconsistencies.
Now, to prove that this wasn't just some random system glitch, the team needs broader context. Enter Nina Ross, the executive assistant. Nina knows a fundamental truth about corporate life, which is that invisible background work always leaves foreground footprints. People who are trying to hide things often hyper-focus on deleting the final document, but they completely forget that they had to book a room to discuss it in the first place. They forget the calendar exports, the printed draft notes left on the copy machine, the expense receipts, the digital routing trails. Nina brilliantly pulls all of these peripheral records together. And by doing this, she places the altered dashboard into a much larger, undeniable pattern of behavior. She makes Adrian's official explanation look incredibly small while making the undeniable truth much, much larger.
With the background context totally set, Jordan, the IT audit specialist, steps in to translate the actual system logs. And I just love how he approaches this. He doesn't project some flashy, cinematic hacker screen. He projects a raw, chronological timeline. First, user access. Somebody had to log in. Second, field alteration. Somebody explicitly changed a field. Third, routing bypass. Somebody with authority approved a different route. And finally, the beneficiary. The end result is that the record appears boring and perfectly green on the dashboard. Jordan explains to the room that truth isn't magical. It is just a strict chronological sequence of events. He brings the raw export data precisely because raw data doesn't need the interpretation that executives like Adrian rely on to spin their narrative.
This entire sequence leads us into this highly charged, super tense formal review meeting. The executives are, of course, performing. They're softening verbs, renaming choices, talking about optics, and managing the narrative. They're desperately trying to wrap the facts in an emotional fog. But then, Aisha, the analyst, cuts through all of that corporate theater with one devastating question. Who benefits if this stays classified as a harmless error? It's such a brilliant tactical move. She flat out refuses to engage with the mood of the room. By asking the specific question and asking it slowly and repeatedly, she forces the room to stop using the passive voice. She forces them to stop talking about system anomalies and start naming actual human names.
Okay, so the absolutely crucial point here is how did they actually do it? How did they make the red reality look green on the dashboard? Jordan reveals the exact loophole, and it wasn't a glitch. It was a custom formula, utilizing a hidden categorization label literally called narrative sensitive. Yeah, you heard that right. It's a tag used to automatically exclude critical redline records from rolling up into the final compliance dashboard status. If a document was going to make a department look bad, they simply tagged it narrative sensitive and poof, the dashboard formula just ignored it, leaving the overall status a comforting, bright green. It was automated comfort built entirely on a foundation of deliberate exclusion. Once that hidden tag is finally exposed out in the open, Maya goes in for the closure, and she does it with this terrifying precision. One page closes, one excuse. She doesn't raise her voice at all. She doesn't make some passionate, dramatic speech. She simply lays down the evidence piece by piece, timestamp by timestamp. When someone offers an excuse, she literally slides a printed raw log across the table that contradicts it. She proves a vital concept for anyone navigating office politics. When a record is deliberately changed to hide the truth, the change itself becomes the most damning piece of evidence. The cover-up becomes the very proof of the crime.
Cornered by these raw logs, the executives immediately pivot, right? They offer a quiet, private fix. We'll handle this internally. Let's just move on. But a private fix only comforts executives while leaving future employees completely exposed to the exact same manipulation down the road. Maya flat out refuses this. She demands a public, systemic lesson. She insists that they write the lesson directly into the workflow process itself. Real corporate repair has to outlive the people sitting in that specific meeting room. It has to leave permanent footprints so that the next time someone tries to hide a redline record, the system itself will stop them, actively protecting employees who weren't even in the room today.
Luckily, Elise Warren, an independent board member, steps up and she turns Maya's demand into a full-on boardroom mandate. This, right here, is what true structural accountability actually looks like. Elise mandates that the dashboard can no longer just show a green light. It absolutely must display raw exception counts right beside every status color. Second, an absolute ban on hidden categories. No more narrative-sensitive tags filtering out reality from board reports. And third, ensuring every single step of the reporting process leaves undeniable footprints. Elise ensures that the discovered loophole isn't just quietly closed, it is transformed into an inescapable, permanent protective measure for the entire organization.
And that brings us to the ultimate, absolutely crucial takeaway of this entire explainer.
Green does not mean safe when the formula is allowed to hide the red. I really want you to burn this quote into your memory. In our modern workplaces, we are surrounded by color-coded truths, automated summaries, and simplified dashboards. They are specifically designed to make us feel comfortable, to make us feel like everything is running smoothly. But what this explainer proves is that you can never, ever blindly trust the color without understanding the formula behind it. You really have to be willing to do the boring, tedious work of checking the raw export, because that is where the actual truth lives.
As the dust finally settles on this whole ordeal, Sophia Lane closes her notebook. The immediate crisis is solved, sure, but the work of protecting the truth never really ends. In her notebook, she has already flagged the very next anomaly, a mysterious calendar invite marked optional. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to end on today. Take a look at your own inbox right now, your own corporate dashboards. Will your next calendar invite marked optional be the start of a new cover-up? Keep your eyes open, always check the metadata, and never ever be afraid to ask the boring questions. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive explainer. I really hope this completely changes how you view the systems you trust every day. See you next time.